Hi, my name is Prasenjit and I work for BMC Atrium Orchestrator product. This is part 1 of a 3-part video series where I would like to show you how you can collect grid metrics and audit records to keep a check on the performance of the overall grid and individual peers, as well as how you can capture any grid level changes as a part of auditing. Grid metrics is nothing but the information about the health of the overall grid and each of your individual peers. This functionality collects the historical data from the grid manager and stores it in an external database. And by using this information, one can track the performance of the grid and the peers over the course of time. To set up the grid metrics, the only prerequisite is that you need to have an external database to store the information. BAO doesn't really care about what type of database you're using, so the database can be from any of the vendors. As long as you have the driver file and connection URL for the database, you're good to go. You can refer the following link for some of the very well-known database along with their connection URLs. Some of the metrics information you can capture include information about peer failures, memory usage, count of failed processes, the number of active threads in the system, along with the adapter status and many others. For a complete list of performance metrics, visit the following link. Now let's see what are audit records. As the name suggests, audit records are used for auditing purpose. Audit records capture any configuration changes made to the grid manager and keeps a track of which user performed the change. This includes information related to the installation, adapter creation, module activation and deactivation, jobs submitted by users, etc. These information are captured by the grid since the installation and are initially stored in the local data store. Once an external database is configured, the information is then uploaded in it. Now let's check how we can access the audit records. There are basically 3 ways to access the audit information. The first one is Audit Record Database, which stores all the audit related information. Next, you can go to Grid Manager, Manage and Config Report tab, where you can see the adapter and the peer configuration related audit information. And lastly, you can see some of the audit related information around module activity from the History tab in the Grid Manager. Now let's do a demo. On this server, I have my CDP and SQL Server database installed. At first, let's connect to the SQL Server and create a database to hold our metrics data. Now let's create a new database. We'll call it BAO Metrics. Leave the rest of the parameters as it is. Click OK. And our database is now created. Now let's create a new user. We'll call this user BAO admin. Let's provide a password for it. Let's make this user the owner of the BAO Metrics DB. In here, select the BAO Metrics checkbox and select DB owner. Now click OK. Now the user we just created has the permission to create tables, to insert records in those tables, and to select or fetch records from the table. Now let's log in to the database using the new user we just created. As you can see, we are successfully logged in, and at this point we don't have any information or tables in our database. Now The next step is to download the drivers for your specific database from the vendor site and place the driver on the BAO peer. For SQL Server, you can download the driver from the following link. For the purpose of this video, I have already downloaded the driver file. Here it is. Let's copy it and go to the CDP peer, go inside lib and paste the driver file in the add-ons directory. In the next part of the video series, we'll configure the metrics database information on the grid manager and we'll start collecting the grid metrics.